All right, let's dive right in. I want you to think about life in a totally different way. What if it's not just something that happens to you, but a game? A game that you can actually learn how to play and win.
So let me just throw this out there. What if your life is a game you have to win? I mean, everything you've ever done, all part of this huge, complex, kind of fascinating game. Think about it. High stakes, hidden rules, and a big prize at the end. How would that change the way you go about your day, even today?
Because here's the thing, whether you like it or not, you're already playing. We've all been dropped right into the middle of it, and yep, the clock is already ticking. None of us signed up for this, right? We didn't fill out an application. We just kind of appeared on the board one day.
You know, a really good way to think about this whole thing is like a giant escape room. I mean, you're suddenly in a room you didn't choose, you've got a limited time on the clock, and the puzzle, well, it's not about finding some hidden key to a door. The real puzzle is figuring out how to live a good life, a meaningful, successful, happy life before your time is up. And this is where it gets really interesting, because there's this huge contrast, right? On one hand, we get zero choice about our starting conditions. Where you were born, the family you got, that's just the hand you were dealt. No control. But the real game, where all your power lies, is in what you do have full control over. How you live, the goals you set for yourself, and ultimately, the person you decide you're going to become.
And man, that clock is always ticking, which really adds a sense of urgency, doesn't it? Look, this isn't some game you can just win by accident. Winning, which is really just living well, comes from first understanding that there is a game going on. And then it's all about learning the strategies to play it well.
Okay, so if life's a game, then it's gotta have rules, right? And I'm not talking about some complicated secret rules that nobody knows. I'm talking about fundamental principles, the pillars that really govern success. And if you want to do more than just scrape by, you absolutely have to master them.
And this first one, well, this is the golden rule. It is the most important one of all. You just can't win the game of your life by playing someone else's. Seriously, authenticity isn't just some buzzword people throw around. It's the absolute core strategy. Who you are, your unique strengths, what you want, those are your most powerful pieces on the board.
Let me put it this way. If you spend your whole life just copying someone else's path, chasing their goals, living by their values, you haven't actually built a life for yourself. You've just become a piece on their board, a soldier in their army. The whole point is to be the hero of your own story, not just some side character in somebody else's.
So how do you actually do that? How do you play as yourself? Well, it boils down to mastering 4 key areas, or pillars. First up, you have to learn how to think and choose for yourself. Second, you got to learn how to earn a living, how to stand on your own 2 feet. Third is learning how to connect with people, to build real, meaningful relationships. And last, but definitely not least, you need to learn how to enjoy it all, to find real happiness and peace along the way. Each one is kind of like a mini game, but when you put them all together, that's the core of a life well played.
All right, so we've got the rules down. Now let's talk about something just as crucial, the mindset of a winner. You see, great players, they don't just get lucky and stumble into success. The game is usually won or lost right up here, in your head, way before anything happens in the real world. It all kicks off with what you believe is possible.
And this next idea is so powerful. Success is not an accident. It's not something that just randomly happens to a few lucky people. It isn't fate. It isn't destiny, it's a decision. A conscious choice that you make, and then you dedicate your entire life to making it happen.
So what does that actually look like in practice? Well, people who achieve amazing things, they're just operating from a different set of beliefs. They completely reject the idea that their circumstances define them. Instead, they make a crystal clear, powerful decision to go after something specific, and then they throw everything they have at it. And what's really interesting is that when you look closely, they often use very similar methods to play the game.
Look, making that decision is a huge first step, but a decision without a plan, that's really just a wish. So, the next move for any serious player is to shift from the why, that big, powerful decision, to the how. It's time to actually design your game plan. And this, my friends, is where the real work begins. It's simple. You can't hit a target that you can't even see. The best players always start by creating this incredibly vivid, super detailed picture in their head of what victory looks like for them, not for anyone else. What does that finish line look like? What have you built? Who have you become? What have you achieved? That vision, that becomes your blueprint.
From that super clear image, you then create the map, a plan for your days, your weeks, your years. Next, you have to manage your most valuable resource, your time, to actually follow that map. And finally, you figure out what skills you're going to need to learn to make that vision a reality. See? It's a step-by-step process.
So, there you have it. The mindset of a winner, the core rules of the game, and a framework for building your own game plan. Sounds like you've got everything you need to start playing like a pro, right?
Well, here's a little reality check. Knowing the strategy is one thing, but it's not the same as actually playing the game. What happens when you step onto the field for real? What about all those unexpected challenges that are going to pop up, the ones you never planned for?
And that is exactly what we're going to get into in our next explainer. Think of it this way. We've just laid out the game board. In part 2, we're going to explore how to actually put all these plans into motion, how to make your moves, and play the game like an absolute pro.
So if you're ready to level up and find out what comes next, do me a favor, hit that like button and definitely subscribe so you do not miss part 2. Thanks for hanging out with me.